Yes, okay, so next, I wanted to spotlight a column, actually two columns, that were written by veteran New York Times contributors. One is Heather Cox Richardson, and she is well, they did an article on her. She's been a contributor to the New York Times op-ed page. She's a history professor at Brown University. She's a historian, written several books on 18th century America. And they did an article on her late last year, pointing out that she is the #1 earner on Substack. And that's interesting. Substack is a sort of a private blog company where you can subscribe to people's blogs, like Andrew Sullivan and Glenn Greenwald and lots of different people. It tends to skew not left, but here she is. And she makes over $1 million a year on a column that she writes daily, which I had to check out, and I did. And I liked her very much. She has she's definitely coming from a green sensibility, but she also has a certain respect for history, and she definitely adds that historical context that I was talking about before. And so here she is, and this is a column that she wrote a couple weeks ago, and it's where she comments on a New York Times op-ed written by another woman, Roxane Gay, who is a regular contributor to the op-ed page of the New York Times. And she was, and Roxane Gay was talking about the culture war online and how mean people are to each other online. And of course, this is a big issue. This is a meme that is in the air. It's like, why do Americans hate each other? I saw that as a headline the other day. And so Heather Cox Richardson writes in her Substack column, she writes, "I just read the New York Times piece by Roxane Gay suggesting that people are horrible to each other online because they feel helpless against the larger forces arrayed against them. The Supreme Court, for example. My sense is a little different. It seems to me that we have become conditioned to approach every situation with strangers hostilely, being hostile, as we have lost more and more rights as consumers against the businesses and corporations with which we do business. So every way we turn, we are fighting to reestablish actual fairness." Oh, God. I mean, I've been getting a little weary, and my green alarms have been going off with Heather Cox Richardson over the last few months. And this really takes the cake for me, and actually both of them. Roxane Gay suggesting that people are horrible to each other because they feel helpless against larger forces like the Supreme Court, and Heather Cox Richardson saying, no, it's not that. It's that we feel lost, and we've lost more rights against the businesses and corporations. And I get, if this passes for sophisticated commentary, it's disillusioning to me, because just on the face of it, it's like, compared to what? Compared to the Supreme Court of the 50s? Or when the corporations, when what was good for America, General Motors was good for America? Back when we were happy? I mean, it just doesn't even pass the most simple kind of test about, so when were we better, and that these forces were not arrayed against us? And if you look at history, good Lord, the way the rights we have now and the fairness that we have now is, it's still much to do, but it's been tremendous progress. It makes me realize that anytime you're operating from any of these worldviews, and your idea of the way things should be is based on your ideologies and worldview, and that what's frustrating when you know how the world should be, it should be either faithful and patriotic, and as in the social conservatives, or it should be rational and secular, or it should be multicultural and eco-aware of, all of those three different stories of how the world should be. And what's frustrating to people is that we can't get everybody else to conform to that, to our view. And I'm not sure we're any angrier about that than we ever have been, honestly. I think that we have a way of expressing it now, and that we are in a culture war, and that war is in many ways fruitful. Evolution loves war, actually. I mean, I hate to say that, and I don't love war, but it's set up that way. I mean, we fight and friend our way forward. And the social media world, the internet world, is doing plenty of both. And let's not forget, as we think about how things are unraveling, how they're re-raveling in new, more complex ways where so much more is included. And this is the thing that we're doing, one of the things we're doing online. When I think of my grandfather, who was a very opinionated man, and a farmer and railroad worker, and I think that he probably never really had an argument with somebody who disagreed with him politically in his whole life, really. And now we can argue with anybody we want all the time. And that's not, it feels bad, but again, evolutionarily, it's a way of checking each other and getting criticizing. And yes, it's not pretty, but it is fruitful. So it makes me think of a paradigm that I was very enamored by, and am still, actually. It's from Scott Peck, who wrote the book, The Road Less Traveled, and it was his work that he did on community building. And he mapped community building as happening in 4 different segments, in a continuum of four stages. One is pseudo-community. And that's when, we don't agree with each other necessarily, but that's not that important. It's like when my cousins and I were kids, we were all, we all agreed enough on everything. But that pseudo community is a very functional stage where at least we get along. But it's an ignorant stage. It's a fused stage that needs to grow. And the second stage out of pseudo community is conflict. And that's when we fight each other and we, do what we're doing online. And 3 is emptiness. That's the third stage. And that's when we realize that we're not going to be able to make everybody agree with us. And this is the stage that I think, Heather Cox Richardson and Roxane Gay are talking about. And it's depressing. And that is a stage of development. And then the next stage is authentic community, when we realize, hey, wait a second, we're still all here in the same family. And we gotta just get on with things and actually get curious about each other and not be quite so identified by our own worldviews. And this is integral. Integral is the space within which worldviews arise. And there's there's a less and less friction, and we can see them all and see the benefits of them all, and see that the mean part of all of them is the part that wants the rest of the world to conform to them. And we see that in green progressivism, and we see it in classic liberalism and materialism. And of course, we see it in traditionalism where, my God is the one God. So welcome to human evolution at this stage of development.